Hello, YouTube. My name is Aiden McLean, Aiden Huracan McLean, and this is my entire life story from when I was one to now. So my name is Aiden McLean, and I didn't come from a very happy childhood. I had my ups and downs. Everyone does, right? But I want to say my life was, it's just a normal life, people would say. But so when I was you don't really get conscious of your life until you're at least 4 or 5. For me, it kind of took longer than that. Um, I was born with a medical condition called global developmental delay. And what global developmental delay is a term for children under age of 5 who show significant delays in 2 or more developmental domains, including motor, cognitive, speech, social, and daily living skills. And for me, I was mentally 2 years behind. My brain would theoretically be 3 years old, but my body would be 5 physically. And basically, I always used global developmental delay as an excuse for my entire life. when when I turned 5, this was very memorable, but I was living in Newberg, Oregon, and I was living in a cul-de-sac with my mom and dad, and my dad's family, and my mom's family never got along. They never even came in contact with each other, and when they did, it was only bad times. Um, I remember I was living in this house in Salem, Oregon, and the only thing I remember was going up the stairs with a vacuum as a baby. That is all I remember. But from this one house, before this Newberg house, I was living with my. Well, it was really tough because I was moving around a lot with my mom. I was with my mom for most of my 5 to 10. Um, yeah, I would just live with my mom, and my dad would always try to come with me, come see me all the time. But it was really hard because it was like a 1 hour drive, and my none of my parents can drive. So yeah, none of my parents were able to drive, and so he would have to take the bus. And in Oregon, and in some of the where he was, where we were, the buses would only come every couple of hours and be really really long. And so he never was really there in the beginning for me. Um, and so I was with my grandma and all my uncles and aunts, and apparently, as you grow up, you never really know, like, your parents will always try to keep, like, for me, it was they always try to keep the bad stuff away from me, all the drama that was going on before I was even born. And as growing up, I was basically living it. Um, so my grandma Holly, grandma Holly Aguirre, apparently she would always fight with my mom. I never knew about what, but my mom is legally blind and overweight, and she would always, from my perspective, she would always use her blindness as an excuse for not wanting to do life. Basically, my entire life, I never really noticed it until way later. but she wasn't really a mom. She would 24/7 be at her computer talking to people, chat rooms, fucking anything possible, anything possible on the computer. She was doing something and not being a mother. And I always felt like an imposter in this house, with my grandma's house, because I lived with them for like 2 years ish, maybe, probably a year. And it was a small house. There was one, two, three. There was 4 rooms in that house, and there was this one room that was in a, like turned into, it was like a big garage, but and turned into a room, and there would be like 2 of us in each room. There was my uncle Salvador, there was my uncle Bugley, but apparently I kept giving my uncles and aunts nicknames when I was a child, and apparently it just stuck. At least something I did stuck, and so I called him Bugley, or somebody called, his name was Bugley, but his name was Esteban. There was my aunt Estrella, um, yeah, and then there was my aunt Esperanza, Uncle Salvador. There was my mom, grandma, and then there was also my uncle Christopher, Uncle Gabe, and uncle and my aunt Hannah, Aunt Natasha. And there was a lot I had a relationship with almost all of them. Or I did have one with all of them, except for one. It was my uncle Gabe, which I don't think he ever really liked me. Or, because my entire life, that time, I felt like an imposter. Like, I felt like an outcast. Like, as if me coming from my mother was the worst possible thing to ever have happened. And there was this one time, I don't remember it, but apparently my we would always have fights, and we had this one big van, um one big van, and we were going to the beach as like a family bond or whatever. And apparently I don't remember this at all because I think I was 5 or 6. But when I was getting into the car, I accidentally bumped into my Uncle Salvador, which I did not mean to do, I don't think. The car was shaking, the car was filled with like 7 other people already, and I accidentally bumped into him. And apparently my grandmother slapped me in the back of my head. And apparently, I don't know how my mom, somebody must have told my mom what happened. But my mom then told my dad, and my dad told me if he were there, he would have slapped the F out of my grandmother, which I don't know why she slapped me. I really don't know why. And so, yeah, things just like that, always happened. But fast forwarding to when I was about 8 years old, we were still living there, and then I got woken up by my dad and mom, and so, but yeah, and so yeah. But before this house, actually, I just remembered it. My bad. I was living in a Newburgh house. I was living in a Newburgh, Oregon house, and our first night there, we were eating what my mother described uglies, which was just like a bean meat filled biscuit or whatever, croissant biscuit, and we were sitting on the floor with a cardboard box eating off of the cardboard box. And I felt kind of safe in this house, and I felt happy in this house because I was 7 years old, 8 years old, 5, 6, and it was fun. I had an Xbox 360, My dad had got me one, and I played Minecraft like every day of my life. I still play it to this day, but I just felt happy. And but there was this one, I had my appendix removed. There was this one night I had a bunk bed, and I was on the top bunk because me and my dad always shared a room with it, or yeah. And so one night I walked off my bunk bed, and there was just sharp pain in my gut, and I couldn't move at all. And so I went to the doctors and we got my appendix removed. And when I came out of my sleep, everyone was above me. Everyone, my mom's side, my grandma came by, or my dad's mom came by, and yeah, everyone came by, and I don't remember who, but they gave me a wooden made fire truck, which is now on top of my grandma Holly's roof, and it's all in pieces. Uh, yeah, I never was able to keep care of stuff. I always broke a bunch of stuff. Like, I had Nintendo 3DSs. I broke like three, or they all had like balloon screen of death. But anyway, and so my dad and mom both woke me up in the Newburgh house one day, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to go live with your grandma? You want to go live with Grandma Holly in that house?" And it was probably because of financial situations. We were really poor, and I guess it was the only time to do it, or only thing to do. And so yeah, I so yeah, that's when we went there. And my dad, he went back to his mom, back to live with his mom, and I guess he was just trying to figure out his life, because I feel like they never really they I was always told it and I always felt it, but I was definitely a mistake in my life. I was a mistake, and I should have never been born. I still think that to this day, and it's just always going to be in the back of my mind. But I was always told I should have been aborted. And yeah, and so there was just one day where my dad had finally decided he wanted me to be in his life, because I was always with my mom and that family. He decided to rescue me, specifically rescued. He came to. We were living in Dayton, Oregon. I was living in Dayton, Oregon, and he decided it was time for me to live with him. And he came by bus, and we ran away basically. And he didn't even tell my mom. He came into the house and he's like, "Let's go." And I'm not going to lie, it was honestly the best decision he would have that the best decision he ever made, because I knew it was the best and worst decision for me, because I was born an only child. I had no siblings. And being an only child really sucks when you have like parents that didn't want to be parents until way later, and basically being alone. I was isolated, and I was around, even though they might not have not liked me, my mom's side of the family, even though they probably didn't like me, it was really good for me, because it was human interaction, social interaction, that most people need human interaction and social interaction in order to live a life. It's just a statistical thing. And this is when I was about 10 years old. I was about 10 years old. He moved me to Troutdale, Oregon, Oh no, it was Gresham, Oregon, with my grandmother and my uncle Marty, and with my Uncle Jeffrey, and a friend that they had made named Alfonso. And they were always all nice to me. Jeffrey and his friend would always get high in their room, and it was basically just the college boys doing college things. And I would live in this one room with my dad, or I think it was my grandma. Either way, there was two beds in one room, and I had an Xbox 360, and there was this one game I would always play. It was like it was farming simulator, but it was like Xbox 360. I was my own avatar, and I was just making my own farm. It was the most fun game I've ever played, other than Minecraft. But I basically spent like 3 years or 4 years of my life in this one house. Oh no, it was 2 years. We had spent 2 years in this house. We had Christmases, Thanksgivings. I was happy, but I was also really sad because my dad had everyone was always working, and I was basically just left alone for so long that I had no any human interaction. In school, I would always get bullied. I This is when I never really wanted to go to school because I would always get bullied. I wear glasses, and so yeah, I wore glasses, and they would always break them. It was really hard for me to make friends because I never really knew how to make friends. Nobody taught me how to be social, and the only time I was able to be social was when I was getting bullied, and oh, it was really tough. There was this one time, I never even told my parents this, but there was this one time, I think it was third grade. These kids had came up to me. I was sitting in a classroom alone because I had no friends, and so these kids came up to me and basically grabbed my head and banged it onto the desk and repeatedly, and they were beating the crap out of me, and I just took it. That was the first time I knew that this world wasn't as nice as my parents were trying to paint it to be, and as most people say it would be. That was when I first learned that this world isn't nice to people that are nice. And this was third grade. Third grade was my favorite. Miss Gunrowski was one of my favorites, and the teacher aide, Mr. Norm. He was a big guy, old big guy. He's probably dead by now, but he would always make me happy. And then there was, and then we would always move a lot. And then this is when we moved apartments, and I moved to a different school. I was in a school in Newburgh. I was in a school in Dayton, Oregon, and in Gresham. That was 3 schools right there. Hall Elementary was second grade to third grade, and my second grade teacher was honestly really cool. I was a special ed kid. Had support. I had to get special support because I had like a speech impediment and lacking social being able to talk, and I would always act out and all that. I would always act out, and so she made me this goal, and if I were to complete this goal, I were able to get a Minecraft book, and I still have this book today. It was called The Rescue. It had a big creeper on the front, and in the book, it says, Aiden, I am so very proud of you for reaching your goal. Um, I know you had the hardest time learning, but you finally did it and you did your goal. And I can't wait to, and I hope for the best days of you. This was at the end of the year, and her name was Brina, and I think she was trans. She, like, she would change her name multiple times. She would look different every time. She would look like, you know, I'm a kid. We're kids, right? We're not supposed to. You're not supposed to know how other things, like, it felt like it was a more older thing to worry about. But yeah, her name was Brina, and she made me happy. Yeah. And then in third grade, Miss Konrowski. And then fourth grade, this is when it really got hard for me. Fourth grade, moved to a new school. Had nobody. I knew nobody. Whew. And I had Miss Valenzuela, who was the worst teacher I had ever had. She was always super mean, and she always picked favorites on who she liked. She never liked me, and there was this time where I had accidentally, like, I was moving my leg and shaking my leg because of how nervous I was in class, and I guess I accidentally hit the kid in front of me, and then I got in trouble for it because I was nervous and all that. But and then we moved forward to fifth grade, and fifth grade was the most favored grade of all time in elementary school. My teacher had blue hair. He would talk with puppets, and he would he wouldn't have normal chairs or normal desks. He would have like a gaming chair, stool, beanbag, anything other than that. And then he would have desks that would either go to your knees or so high up it's taller than you. And it was really fun. And this was the first year where I had to finally talk out loud, and he would do about like 10 presentations like within like 2 months. And there was this, the presentation grade, audience grade, and there was this one, it was called the TED Talk. You had to like come up with a whole thing you wanted to talk about and just study up on it. And it did a TED Talk about Nintendo, about how the history of Nintendo, the systems, and all that. And then I did an animal presentation. You pick an animal, you study on it, give facts and whatever. I did a northern hawk owl, and it is still my favorite animal today. But I would always, this was when I had, like, it was basically my first time talking to people, and I had to talk in front of like 20, 30 other kids, and my teacher. There was also this teacher aide, and I had horrible stage fright. And I would always freeze up, and I could just I felt every single bone in my body shake. It was so terrifying. And then sixth grade, we had to move to a different school. We moved to a different area, but this was the first time that my parents had moved me into a house, or we never really lived in houses. It was always apartment complexes. And so we moved to this one apartment in Portland, Oregon. Or no, it was still Gresham. Or was it? I think it was the border of Gresham to Portland. But this was sixth grade, and it was a it was called home court condos. And it would have a bottom floor, and then there would be a top floor. There would be a full bathroom upstairs, a half bathroom downstairs. And This is when I first became, quote unquote, my dad called me an adult by then. I was 12. I was in 6th grade. And this was when I had a Wii U. I had, I had a Wii U, Xbox to play. I would always go to school, have fun. This new school was really, really fun at first until it wasn't. Until I was actually pretty social when I came here. I would always like answer the questions that the teacher would ask, and there was this teacher named Mr. Miller. He was my math teacher, and he was really nice. Yeah, and then it was outdoor school in Oregon and the most of West and some of West. There's this program called Outdoor School, and what Outdoor School is a program where 6th graders would go out to a campsite for about a week, and they would be taught science, do hands-on activities, stay in a cabin for a week, and be taught by high schoolers and adults. It would just be a fun week outside, learning about water. It was all science related. So learning about science of water, soil, plants, and water, and soil, water, animals, and plants. And so when you first got to this camp, you would arrive on a bus, and there would be a bunch of high schoolers all around you, and they would have these wood cookies with nicknames on them. Like, there was a sweatshirt, there was Raven, there was Bear Claw, there was North, there was Coda, and and they were there were student leaders. And they would just teach us science, keep us safe, take care of us. For me, it was 3 days, but usually it's a week. But I think back then this camp was a little cheap, and so I was only there for 3 days. But within these 3 days, we were learning science. I remember it was really poor. The budget, now I can just tell it was really poor, because we were catching tadpoles in a pool. I mean, it was fun for me. It was fun for us. We were just kids. And so, yeah, and then it was a week. I had taken a sleeping bag with me, or 3 days sleeping bag. This was the first ever time I had ever gone away from my dad or my mom. Either way, I was away from my parents for 3 days. And I felt like a man. I felt like a whole new man, because I had gone alone. And it was me, and they would mix up the cabins with, there was 3 other schools there. 3 other schools, 3 other classes, and I was put into a cabin with everyone that I didn't know. And it was really nervous. I was really nervous. I would shake a lot. But there was this one day I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be a new man. I'm not gonna be shaky. I'm gonna talk and stuff. And I'm gonna talk. And then there was one day that was very, very memorable. That there was recreation activities where we were making popcorn from a pot on a fire. And I remember I was loading that thing up. I was putting honey on there. I was putting syrup on there, chocolate syrup, M&Ms, butter, salt, everything. Everybody was eating it up. Everybody was eating it up because it was so good. And then the 3 days were over, and we went back to regular school. And now that I've grown up and I've been doing it for so long, I know the process, and the process that the teachers go through. I want to thank my teacher, Mr. Miller, for taking me out to outdoor school, because the process he had to go through to make everybody go, it was really complicated. But then it was seventh grade. I had made some friends. And it was cool. There was this one time where I had a really cool jacket, and this one kid, he came up from behind me and he slapped a packet of ranch on me, and my jacket was ruined. And the vice principal had came in. He gave the kid a talking to and gave him ISS. Sucks to be him, but the vice principal had taken my jacket and he put it inside and he washed it for me. And by the end of the day, it was dry. It was clean. I was really happy. But then, halfway through my seventh grade, my parents had to move again. But we moved to a better, I guess, area. Not a better area. No, that's not a good word. But it was a new area. It was pretty cheap. And I had lived in this house since I was 12 to 17. So I spent 5 years of my life here. Like, at first, it was a new area. And then it was halfway through 7th grade. So everything, I felt like everything from before was erased. And so I had to get some new friends again. And I went to Harrison Park Middle School. And this is where I was really born. For the first 3 weeks, it was like a mile walk to school. And it took them 3 weeks to get like a bus to come get me. To like get me over there. But for those first 3 weeks, I was just walking there and back. It was horrible. But there was this one kid that came up to me. His name was Milton Knox. I appreciate him because he saw me being alone and he invited me to be his friend, and he invited me to talk to all of his other friends. There was Angpa, there was Milton, there was others I don't remember. There was Elijah, Ricky. And this school, you can just tell that it was a very poor school and a very hood-like school. Like, it felt like a jail. It felt like I was in New York, in Harlem. And so, yeah, I was there from 7th grade to 8th grade. And I would always talk to everybody, and I was like kind of the life. I was always there. And there was this one class called the leadership class. And this was when I was 12. I had finally gotten a phone. So by this school, I was always on my phone. But I remember this one time we were making flyers, or we were painting something to hang up in the cafeteria, and we were using paint and white, and the people were flinging it everywhere. And I made this joke, was, hey, I'm already white enough, just calm down, I'm already white enough as it is. And that was really fun. That was a really funny time. And then 8th grade happened. This was when I started playing, because this was 2017 to 2018. This is when the game Bloons TD6 came out. If any of you know what, I've been posting Bloons TD6 content since then. And Bloons TD6. And I met this guy named Joseph who also played Bloons TD6. My first class of the day, it was middle school, and my first class of the day would be choir. And choir, I never sang. I always sat in the back of the auditorium, and I was eating food the whole time. There was this, when you walked in the school, there was this table with a breakfast on it, and then there was this no thank you bin. The no thank you bin is when you put something that you don't want, and you put it in the bin. There would be some, it would be like a beef Wellington, but like a poor version. it would be like it would be like sausage, egg, bacon, and cheese inside of a bread roll. She was bomb. I took like 7 of them. Me and my friend Joseph, we became friends within like a day. And I found out he played Bloons TD6, so we just played it every day in that class. And then there was this Mr. Huff class, history class. He was my favorite, Mr. Huff. Oh my gosh, he was big like me. He cared about the students. But then there was this math teacher, Mr. Bernstein. He would always get disrespected, and I kind of disrespected him too, because he would, he wouldn't be able to handle the kid. He wasn't able to handle the kids. I think I called him Mr. Bitchstein. I know, I was a horrible kid back then. I was in this hood group, the little gangsters group. I was just following along. And then after the 7th grade year, he left. And then there was also this Miss Rittenbach. She was the English teacher. I had always liked English or language arts, but she was like, she looked like a witch. She would be the most mean teacher ever. She wouldn't allow any fun. But there was this one teacher aide that I had. Her name was Miss Robles, and she was my favorite. There would be this room that she would like let you stay in to do work, and she would help you do work. And it was just the time to get away from the regular classes, in a quiet space with other kids that are trying to get help. And so she would always, and this was around the time where you would hit puberty, and I kind of fell in love with her. As a child, I fell in love with her, and then she got pregnant, and then she left. This was around the time where I thought I was cool. I wanted to be cool, and so my mom or my dad had married this girl named her name was Brandy. She was my stepmom, and to be honest with you, I had never liked her. I was just trying to be happy for my dad, because he had finally found someone that wanted to be with him, and if she made him happy, then I was happy for him. But I never liked her. She would never get on with me. I would never get on with her, and yada yada. I don't want to talk about her. I'm talking about my middle school. And so Miss Robles would get pregnant, and then she left. And then there was 2 new teachers, a new math teacher and a new language arts teacher, and then Miss Price and Mr. Benson. They were so chill. They were like, oh, they were awesome. But Miss Price also got pregnant and then left. Why is it just a universal thing where all language arts teachers get pregnant and then leave? But this was 8th grade. This was 2020. This was March 12th, 2020, when COVID happened. Everyone was sent home. It was only supposed to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into a year and a half. For me, it was a year and a half, and that year and a half fucked me up royally. I had become antisocial. I had become depressed. I lost the way of how to talk to people, and so I was digging myself my own hole to crawl into, and of isolation, because I would be in the worst part of my neighborhood. This was Portland, Oregon, and if anyone knows what Portland, Oregon is, it was the worst. Like one point, it was the highest drug-rated city in America, and it was so incredibly tough to be outside. And so I would always be cooped up in my room on my Xbox playing Fortnite. That was a big thing. I didn't get into Fortnite until like 2020. and I would be addicted to Fortnite. And then there was this Apex game, Apex Legends. Oh my god, I still play it to this day. Apex Legends is better than... I'm literally playing Apex on this video. And... I'm literally playing Apex on this video. But yeah, and so this was COVID year, and then I got into high school. But my first year of high school was on the line. And this high school, you would get a credit for just being inside the online class. I had my camera off. I had my mic off. I didn't speak a single word to anyone. I wasn't even in the class. I actually, for the first week, I was like, all right, I'm going to listen to this class. I'm going to study. I didn't know such thing. I had not learned a single thing in my freshman year because it was all online and I was just playing Fortnite. And so this was the school where my friend Milton had gone to. And I hadn't talked to Milton since middle school, since 7th grade, because, you know, friends always fall out and shit, and because it was COVID, it was sophomore year. I had fallen so deep into my isolation hole that I only spoke about a max of 30 words throughout my entire sophomore year, because I would always hide behind my mask. Well, masks were mandatory back then, but I would hide in my hoodie, my mask. Nobody knew who I was, and I didn't want anyone to know who I was until junior year. We're getting really close to now. Junior year, this was around the time where I wanted to start writing my own book. My own book is called Boy in Plain Sight. It is about my life put into a fictional world where the main character has felt shy and invisible his whole life, and where he actually gets invisibility powers and he doesn't use it for bad or good. He just lives life like normal, and he goes through the shit I went through. But it's like a book of what I wish would have happened, what did happen in my inspirations in my life, and yada yada. It's just my life, right? And so yeah, junior year, and this is when I started talking a little bit. My first class was biology class, and I liked my teacher. I think her name was Miss Gardner. And so yeah, my sophomore year was really, really tainted. There was this teacher named Mr. Miller. He was another Mr. Miller, right? He was my favorite teacher, and there's also another reason why he is, but he would always talk to me. He would always try to get me to talk, even though I didn't. Literally the first class, he sat down, crouched at me, and he was asking me a question, and it was, why do we teach history? And I took like 2 minutes to answer, and it was the most simplest answer that you could ever say. It was, so we don't repeat the history. That's all I had to say, but I was so deep down in my social anxiety that I didn't say anything. But this was junior year, and Milton was actually in my class that year. He was in my class in sophomore year, but I didn't talk to him at all. And apparently he made some new friends. There was this guy named Ethan. And so yeah, Milton was in my biology class, and he made 2 new friends, 3 new friends. Ethan, Matthew, and Michael. Michael and Matthew were twins. They were Mexican, and they were like big like me, and they were really fun to hang out with. And there was this one day in class where these people with I said this earlier, but with wood cookies have came into the door, and they were doing a presentation about outdoor school. And shit, it's been about 4 years since I had outdoor school. Those 3 days were the best 3 days of my life. And so they gave me a flyer, and it was for to be the student leader. The student leaders that were taking care of me in 6th grade, I had the opportunity to become that person, and I was already excited about it. I was already deciding to do it. And I'm like, hell yeah. And then I told my dad, this is what I'm going to be doing, and you cannot stop me, and I'm going to be doing this for a week. It was a whole week of outdoor school, not just 3 days. And I showed him a flyer, and my dad was looking up. He was looking up the program, and he said, you can make $300 per 3 hours of work that you do. But he was looking at the staff, the adult workers, like, salaries that they were making at this program. I thought I was going to get money out of this. No, the only thing I got out of it was high school credits. That didn't matter, by the way. That did not matter. And so I did this program for 3 years. For about 2 to 3 years. My first ever week, this was, I'm trying to get out of my social, out of my little hole. And I said about 3 words. Yes, no, maybe. It was a program that teach 6th graders and be a leader, but I was not a leader. I had this cabin partner named Banana, because everyone had different names. And so my name was Hurricane. Everyone knows me as Hurricane. But I'll go to that later. And so Banana, apparently she was a junior, I think. And so you were able to do outdoor school, be student leader when you're a sophomore. And I think she did that when she was a sophomore because she knew I think she said it was like her 3rd week. And the 3rd week is like being a veteran already. It's like being a veteran of this program. And she wasn't really letting me be, like, I talked more than 3 words. I talked a lot more than that. But it was very small. We had like these 10 kids. We had these like 10 kids to worry about, the 2 of us, and she was being more of a leader. There was times where she would let me be a leader, but she was really just like as if I wasn't even there. There was this one time where, so this campsite hadn't been open since COVID, and so it had been like 2 years since this camp had been open, and my bad. And there was this kid named Silas, and he found a kitchen knife. There was this little ledge. The cabin, there was a bottom floor and a top floor. There was a different type of group of kids. Like, all the cabins had different names, and all those names would be different groups of cabins. And they would just, we would have our own little group that we had to take care of, and we were all named different things. And so there was this little ledge, and he found a kitchen knife, and so there was this staff person named Cog, Tyler Mata. Thank you so much. He saw something in me. He was my personal mentor. Personal mentor was helping me take care of the kids, and he knew he saw something in me that nobody else had. I was pretty fat, but he was like as big as me, or probably he was a little bit bigger, but he would be he would have like a ponytail, he would have like long black hair, would have tattoos, and he would just be the life of the party. And he saw something in me that nobody else had, and he knew there was a leader inside of me, and he basically just inspired me the entire time. Every day I was getting a little bit better at being a leader. Yeah, I was getting a little bit better at being a hero. I mean, not a hero, but a leader. And so after my first week, I was really sad. I cried my way home. So at the to get to this program, it's like you have there's this building that you have to get to, but so you would have to go to your school at like 10 a.m. and then there would be buses to pick you up to go to this building called the MESD, and then this is where all the outdoor school records take place, where everybody's coordinated. There's like 5 different campsites. There's like 200, 300 different like high schoolers that want to be a student leader. And so they all group here, and then they all disperse into different campsites. And then you go to the campsites. And then they would go into different campsites. And so I had done more than 1 week, but I was really sad. And then the way to get home was the same process. They bring you back to this MESD, and then you get dispersed into the bus. There was a bunch of school buses that would go to each school, and you would get on the one that was your school. And my school was McDaniel High School, and I was really sad. I cried my entire way home because that place really made me happy. That place was magical. It was a place where I had finally found what I wanted to do in life. And so I tried to do another week, a second week in a row. You're not able to do 2 weeks in a row. And because I liked outdoor school more than regular school. And so I tried to do a second week, and I went without permission. And so I left halfway through the week. And this is when I was really trying to be a leader. I was talking, I was like being a leader. I was talking, being social. COG saw that, and then when I had to leave, it was really sad. But I got permission to do it another time, but 2 weeks after this one, because there's 5 weeks in the spring, in the fall term, in the fall session. There's 5 weeks in the fall, 10 weeks in the spring, and so I had done two other weeks this session in a row, because they let me, because I begged. And so this 4th week, I had already done 1.5 week, and this is when I was really being a leader. There was this one guy, his name was Bubbles, and he was a new student leader. I had already done a week, and so I was a 2-weeker. And so I was his cabin partner, and I was really like sharing the leadership, because you're supposed to share leadership. We had about 12 kids to worry about. There was Calvin. That's the only one I remember. I'm sorry. But Calvin. And yeah, everyone loved me. Everyone loved me. The staff knew who I was. There was Panda. There was Aquila. There was Citrus. There was Satchel. Goose. Panda, I think I already said that. COG, Calico, Hemlock, Quill, and it was a magical place. And then this new set, because it's a different set of high schoolers every time, and so this group of high schoolers were really nice. They were a lot of them knew exactly what to do. They were all talking to me. And it was still a new environment for me, because everybody was talking to me, and I was being a leader. I did this for another week, and each week I kept getting better and better, and COG saw improvement. COG was the reason why I was being a leader. And so at the end of the weeks, there's an evaluation thing for student leaders to become better. There was a 1 through 6. 1 meaning you're never coming back. 6 means you are going to be the best. You were the best leader, and there's like basically no improvement. For me, my first week I got 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 3 actually 1, 3. My second week, I got 3s, and 1, 4. And then this, in the third week, I got threes, all threes, 4. And then outdoor school was done for that year. I had to go through high school, regular high school that I hated. Oh, I hated all so much. I didn't want to go. I stopped going because outdoor school changed my life. I should have kept going, but it made me sad. And then I had to wait until about March to do it again. And then I did another 3 weeks. So here, put into perspective, these schools would only allow you to do 1 week per session, and I guess I was an exception because they hated me going. The school hated me going, but the campsite staff loved me coming back every time. But yeah, and so I'm gonna fast forward to my senior year. My senior year, it was really boring until I got to about March. I was taking a podcasting class and a hip hop literature class. I was taking a podcasting class and I did about 3 podcasts, and I was sitting at I was sitting at the desk next to the teacher. Mr. Miller was my teacher again. Mr. Miller, the history teacher. I was so happy to have him as my teacher again. And there was this one day where he's like, "You're a senior. Would you want to take a week and go to New York City?" New York City, fucking, almost 3,000, 4,000 miles away from me. I was in Oregon. And we went there, and this was like the first time I had gone 4,000 miles away from my dad. And I was really sad to leave him. It was really, really fun. I went with like 20 different classmates I had never talked to. But there was this one guy named Calvin. He's the most memorable because during this time we got a grant of like $2,000 to get the plane ticket. We would be in this hotel for 5 days, and so I had to share a room with a guy named Levi and Austin. They didn't like me. I know they didn't like me. I had long black hair because I dyed my hair. My hair is naturally brown, but that's not a point. That's not a point. I don't think they ever liked me. Probably because I was really known as the school shooter, because I'm quiet. Nobody talks to me. I don't talk to anybody. But yada yada. They would give us about $20 for each. They would give us $20. Well, no, $20 for breakfast and lunch, and we were able to go off to wherever we wanted for lunch. But for 3 days of the 5 days, we were going to this Columbia University, where the first Spider-Man was filmed. I was in the exact same room that they used to fight the Green Goblin and whatever. It was really, really cool. And I went to like 4. The only classes I went to were about podcasting and about writing. I'm really wanting to be a writer, and I still am, and I want to be. And and so yeah. And so yeah, it was like a really cool 5 days. We went to all the boroughs. We went to the Bronx. We were in Manhattan. We saw the Twin Tower, or the 9/11 Memorial. We went to Staten Island. We went to this Broadway show, Little Shop of Horrors. I loved Little Shop of Horrors. The Broadway show. It was so cool. And we would always and so for dinners, we had 3 teachers with us. There was Mr. Miller, Miss SB, and Mr. H. There was a podcasting teacher, Mr. Miller, newspaper, and photography. I think. I think they were both newspaper. Yeah, and so like we were all in this one group chat of everyone that was on the trip, so it was easy to access, and so for a lot of the times we were able to do whatever we wanted. Go travel, go explore the city, and so, but for dinners, the staff would pay for it, the teachers would pay for it. There was this one dinner that was really nice. We went to this Italian restaurant, and we all sat at this table, and I was really nervous at this table because there was no seating arrangement. It was just a random seating arrangement. And there was one guy named Ryan. He was weirder than me. I called him weirder than me. I didn't say it to his face, but he would like eat his food weird. He would look autistic. Now, that's coming from me. I'm sorry, but that's coming from me. And I was just really quiet. I didn't really talk. And so I was sitting next to him. But across from me, there was 5 beautiful girls sitting across from me. And I might put the picture up of... I'm going to put pictures up of everything. Of what I'm talking about. But there was these like 5, I think 6 actually, 5 beautiful girls that were sitting across from me. And I was so incredibly nervous. I was shaking the whole time. And I ordered the most basic Italian dish, chicken parmesan. And, you know, it was really bad. The food was really bad. On God, it was so bad. But after this New York trip, this was my senior year. And this was around the time my mom died. Died of a drug overdose. My mom died December 31st, 2024. No, December 31st, 2023. That a day before 2024, my mom had passed away. And at this point, I hadn't really been with my mom for 4 years because she would go down this rabbit hole and she would always blame everyone else for her actions, and she lost it. I don't want to talk about my mom anymore. That's because it's my personal thing, my entire life. Yeah, but like, she's just a part of my life that I'm glad she's out of my life. Like, it's horrible to say that I'm glad my mom died, but it was just, you know, the stuff I had to go through. She was just never really there for me, as most moms should be. But so during this New York trip, it was 5 days. That Friday came around, and we would get on a plane, and I would go back home. I hadn't gotten back to school in 3 weeks because I was giving the excuse my feet hurt. I had blisters on my feet. I was so tired. I'm depressed because the trip ended, and I just never really went back to school. And I didn't complete high school. I never got my high school diploma. And so my dad would always threaten me about sending me to Job Corps. If you don't know what Job Corps is, it is a program where a free nationwide residential education and a career technical training program administered by the U.S. Department of Labor for eligible young people ages 16 through 24. And so he would always use that as a threatening technique. If I didn't go to school or I was fighting with him, he would always use Job Corps to send me there to like help me better my life. And so when I turned 18, right before this, I was fighting with my dad, and he would always, to me, my perspective was anything that I would act out upon, I would fight him about, and my dad is very stubborn. He's basically just a version of an old version of me, and I'm a young version of him. My grandma and everybody would tell me we're the exact same, and so I was using that as the reason why we were fighting is because we were so similar that like we were always butting heads, and so like if he was fighting with me, he was fighting with himself. And so like there was a lot of like life things that he should have taught me, because school doesn't teach you some of the life lessons that you're supposed to know. And so like he would like because he would always be at work, and my stepmom would always be at work, so I was always home alone, and there was things I wish he would have done, but like, and so he was just never really there. And yeah, it was just really really tough. And so I finally said, I don't want to live with you anymore. I don't think we can, because at one point he tried to kill himself in front of me. I was already really depressed, and so he thought he failed as a parent, and like I didn't know what to do. There was a little part of me that said I wish he would do it, but at this point I'm glad he didn't, because I don't want him to kill himself in front of me. I'm sorry, disclaimer, I'm gonna put a disclaimer of horrible things. So yeah, and so that was when I'm like, all right, I'm done, I need to get out of this house. And so I went to my aunt Natasha's house. Now, she's like, I would call her my step aunt, because my mom, all her siblings, the ones I was talking about like an hour ago, my grandma Holly had married like four other guys, and so they would be like half aunts. So you have kids with all of them, kids with different kids with them, and so yeah. But this was my aunt Natasha, and she's very strict. She's just like, she has four kids of her own. I'm talking about but there was Eric, Dominic, Aaron, Logan. Aaron and Logan are twins. Eric and Dominic are honestly my favorite. I played with them a lot. Because I hung out with my cousins before even the twins were born, but because my oldest cousin Eric, he's 15. He was born 5 years after me, and he's just like, yeah. All these four kids are now like, they're athletes. They want to all be athletes. They're in football and all that. And Dominic is my favorite. I'm sorry. I have to pick a favorite. Dominic is my favorite. Dominic would be the one to hang out with me almost all the time, and it was really fun. And I tried going back to high school, finishing high school. I was 19, because my birthday is September 6th, and so it would always be the first day of school. And so this was 2024. And so this was around May, June, and I was there for the whole summer. And this whole summer I was trying to get a job. Nobody would hire me because, one, I don't have any work experience or high school diploma. Nobody would hire me. And so she said I had to get a job. But this was a town called Sheridan, Oregon. It was like Dayton, Oregon. There was like barely any buses around. It was like a country town where there was like nothing around. So I applied to like 200 jobs. Nobody would take me. And so she actually, at one point, because I was living in a room with my cousins, like with my two other my cousins. They were in a bunk bed, and I was on the bed on the floor. And there was this closet because this was a big house. This is the first time I was ever actually living in a house. And these bedrooms had fucking walk-in closets. And this walk-in closet I basically lived in. I had a setup in there. I had my computer in there. I played games in there. I basically stayed in there like 24/7. This is when I started streaming on Twitch. And this is because before all this, I was actually trying to be a streamer. I would always play games. I would play games more than I would go to school. And I started streaming on Twitch, and I was making some money, and I was having fun. I got to like 600 followers, and then that's a whole another story I'm gonna get into. And then I tried going back to school, and then I just stopped going to this school because I felt like I was a super senior, and I felt really uncomfortable being in a school with a bunch of, and I think people, because I didn't talk to anyone in this school, I didn't want to. And I was a senior, super senior, and I would always be in classes that everybody was a sophomore and a junior in. That's how I felt like an imposter all the way through. And so I always tricked and lied to my aunt that I went to school, because I would be able to because she would always be at work, and I memorized her schedule to where I'm at her house, and then I would be gone by the time she would be back. Or whatever. I would climb out of the window, because this is when she gave me my own room, and I was playing games in there, doing whatever, and then this was around the time I'm like, all right, I want to better my life. I had we also had some fights where if I didn't go to school, she took away my phone, and then she took away my laptop that had my entire life in there. And so there would be this time where I would literally take my laptop and my phone to school without her knowing, and I would leave my laptop and my phone in my locker so she didn't know that I had it, because I did not want her to take it. And then I applied to Job Corps myself. That my dad was trying to force me to go to. And I wish he would have sent me there earlier when I was like 16. So Job Corps, basically, it was like school, but then also working at the same time. I was getting paid while trying to get my GED, driver's license, and working in a trade to get experience. And so the trade I did was called protection services, like home security, private security. I had a chief. His name was Colin Rogers, and he was a fucking badass. I'm putting another picture of him right there. And he was such a badass. He knew there was something in me, and he would always make us work out every day. I was so into it, and he taught us how to handcuff, use a baton, school shooter drills. He was training us to be police officers, not security officers. And it was really, really fun. But this Job Corps, it was really poor. And so Job Corps, what it is there's non-residential people and residential people that live on the campus. I lived on the campus for a year, and every single day I was talking to people. I was being more social. I was really quiet in the beginning, and then I kind of warmed up, and every other week there would be new students coming in, and I had already gotten the lore on everybody. There was a really annoying people. There was Onyx, there was Kavanaugh. Well, Kavanaugh was on my team of protecting services. So in Job Corps, there was 5 different trades. There is pharmacy tech, office administration, protection services. There was auto body repair and paint. And so I was in the protection services. We had there was 10 other people in this trade with me, and it was really fun. And then there was 20 other people in the other trades, and it was basically trades versus trades. It felt discriminatory because of it felt like different races with the trades, and so yeah. And then there was this. It kind of happened with me with Milton. There was this guy named Finn. Finn had seen something in me. He wanted to say hi. He wanted to introduce himself. And then he knew everybody. Everybody knew him. It was basically just like Milton again. And and so I told him that I wanted to be a writer, and I don't know why I'm here. I'm just here to better my life. I do now have my GED. I finished the program a year ago, or 4 months ago. But anyway, and so because when my first day there, I was put in a room with a guy named Tui, Julio, and Junior. My first ever night there, these three guys were the most popular guys there, and they would be the most obnoxious, I guess. Obnoxious. They were the talk of the campus. Everybody knew them, and they knew everybody else. Same thing. I got woken up at 12 a.m. at night because Junior because there's 4 beds. It's if you do a rectangle and you put a line in the middle and a line in between, horizontal and vertical, or vertical and horizontal, or whatever the fuck. And then there would be 4 beds in each corner with lockers and a little nightstand. And so I was in the bed across from Junior at 12 a.m. because I'm an early sleeper. It was a really long day because in Job Corps you're up from 6:45 to basically 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Because Job Corps every day, you go to classes, and then you go to trade. You go to trade and classes. I was gonna do high school, but then I did GED because my GED teacher told me, instructor said it would be easier, and so it was. Not really. And so, so yeah, I would get my GED whatever, but no, Junior at 12. It was 12 a.m. and all I was hearing was, "Oh, it's time to get up! It's time to get up! Whoa, whoa! It's time to get up! Wake up! Wake up!" And it woke me up. I didn't move a single muscle because I didn't want them to know if I woke up or not, and so I just sat there and I went right back to sleep. And then every morning, a staff member, RA, would come in your door at 6:45 a.m. sharp, waking you up to get ready for classes, because if you don't go to class, then you are a chance of getting terminated from the program. It was a really strict program, but it was felt like military school, but I never knew what military school was, but people were telling me it felt like jail. But for the first 4 weeks, we were, it's called CPP, something preparatory, preparatory period. And so there was also this dress code, a uniform dress code. It was a polo and some pants. You had to wear your uniform every single fucking day. You would have to make your bed every day. You would have to clean your area every day. It was good because they were teaching us a routine, and at week 5 I got used to it. And my chief made me a talker. I finished my trade around July, because April to May, the center director had said, this was 2025 June. And so I stayed with my aunt for like almost a year, and then I went to Job Corps, and I was all on my own, learning on my own fruition of trying to get better in my life. And so, yeah. So then, yes. And so, long story short, Job Corps made my life better. And I am so glad that I went, because getting my GED was also really hard. I got language arts done immediately and math done first try, because it's three. You can only do 3 tests, and then if you fail all 3 of them, you have to wait like 90 days to do it again. And so it took me 2 tries to do social studies, and then science was. It was really ironic that I was teaching. Before this, I was teaching kids how to do science for 3 years, and science GED was the hardest one that I could do. I failed 3 times, and then my 4th time, I had finally passed it, and I was so proud of myself that I had finally gotten my GED. It's not a high school diploma, but it's an equivalency, and I was so happy and so proud of myself that I chose to go to this program, and I chose to finally better my life. Because, yeah, I've already told you my entire life there, but long story short, if you don't think that you can't do it, that is a complete lie, because you know you can. If you say something, you have to like put it in motion. You have to. And so after this program, I wasn't able to get my driver's license, but I do have my permit, because at this point they wanted me gone, because I had already finished the protective services trade. And so I decided to go into another trade, office administration, and the instructor was really nice. She would help me a lot, and I basically got through the trade within less than a month, or like a couple months. I wanted to take my time with this one, because the other one I really like. And so April and May, this is when the Job Corps, Department of Labor, Trump tried to shut it down. And so for these 2 weeks, well, for me, the program shut down for a month, but my center was still up. It was like everybody was able to leave, because everybody was scared that we weren't able to come back. We were not able to come back. And so I had gone back to my dad. Because it already had been more than a year and a half since I lived with him. And so I wanted to go back to my dad. Actually, I was visiting my dad a couple of times, because for the first 4 weeks you aren't able to leave. You are trapped there because they want you to stick there. And so you're not able to leave on any weekend, on any weeks. And then after the 4 weeks, you have to put in a weekend pass, get permission to leave campus for a weekend. And so, yeah. And then the Job Corps was shut down, and they're like, hey, you can leave. Because this was when I was doing what was called a work-based learning. You just get experience in the trade that you are doing. And so I did outdoor school. So they were going to send me to a boys and girls club to like take care of kids and give them a snack, take care of them, be security and whatnot. They told me in quote that they would drive me to this location every single day for 4 weeks. every day. And then as soon as the time came, they're like, nope, you're gonna have to take a bus for what? For they would take me to the transit center to ride a bus for an hour just to get there, and then I would have to take a bus to get back an hour, and then having to wait for them to come pick me up. I said, fuck the hell no. And so I'm like, why don't I do outdoor school? Because I connected outdoor school with security. I'm doing the exact same thing I would have done at Boys and Girls Club, but I already done outdoor school, and so people knew me. And luckily for me, there was a campsite, outdoor school, Camp Collins, that was like 12 minutes away. And so they took me there every single day. And luckily for me, Cog was at this campsite. Apparently he had moved campsites. I was so incredibly happy that I was able to go to do my favorite thing, go teach, because I was wearing what was an adult volunteer and a security. And so I was basically just doing the exact same thing. And so when I was actually in my aunt's house, Natasha, I went back to outdoor school for a week. Being an adult volunteer, being what's called a SNEED, you take care of a kid that had special needs. And so outdoor school, I always go back to it. Outdoor school really changed me in so much ways that it made me a leader, it made me talkative, it inspired me. And there was these kids, cause these kids the 6th graders would always get attached to you no matter what. And so this was my 4th week, the 4th week. There was this kid named Jacob. He would wear a black hoodie. He would always wear a mask. Masks weren't mandatory, but he would always wear a mask. And his luggage was a black trash bag. And so I could immediately tell that this kid is coming from a somewhat, hard family like me. And so I saw something in him that I saw in me. I saw something in me and him, and so I was taking care of him. And this kid, you can just tell he wasn't smiling at all. You can just tell he hadn't smiled in so long. But I had built this rapport relationship with him to where this was the 2nd or 3rd day where I got this kid to smile. I was cracking jokes, I was teaching him, and this kid, one day, so what I was doing for the science portion was there was also this the teaching portion was where you just teach the kids science, and my field was water science. And water science, I was teaching them pH, dissolved oxygen, catching critters in a pond, the stream flow, all of that. And so this kid Jacob, I've already built this relationship with, this rapport relationship with him, being his he was also he was in my cabin. He was staying in the cabin and I was taking care of him. And so when he saw me because he did the soil, I think, the soil field study the first day. And so when he saw me on the water, you can see a little bit of a smile when he saw me. He saw you can see this little bit of smile. And so this was when I was like, wow, this is really what outdoor school is about? Teaching these kids and making them have a great time. And this was when I was like, this was only my 2nd week. But apparently I was doing so well that this kid, by day 4 or 5, this kid was smiling so much you can see it in his cute little eyes. he was so adorable, like, and it just made me smile that he was happy because he was having a great time. He was having such a great time that it made me smile. And so there was this one day where, because he, he got attached to me a little bit. And so I'm always on water, so I'm always teaching a new group of students every day of water, because it would be 3 different schools or 4 different schools, 4 different classes, and they would all be separated in between different field studies every single day. And then he had animals for the third day. But he got attached to me so much, he asked one of the staff members if I was able to join him on an animals field study day, because he didn't want to be alone and he wanted to be with me. And my heart melted. My heart melted all the way down to the ground. And so, yeah, I spent the day with him at animals, and it was lucky for me that my water field study group, other student leaders, there was more than enough to get rid of me. And yes, and then this was when I became an adult volunteer, where there was this kid named Jet, Jett, and he, with special needs and stuff. And so you're just, for me, when you're an adult volunteer, you are just basically trying to give this kid the time of his life, helping him out with like some of the science portions, the hands-on stuff, and just making sure he had a great time. I connected with him immediately. His first field study was, this was when I was at Natasha's house. This is when I was at my aunt's house and went there for a week to be a volunteer. And there was this kid named Jet. And so actually, after I graduated high school, Cog stayed in contact with me. We were playing video games, because these staff members, when you're a high schooler, staff members are supposed to block you and not add you, and they're supposed to like not be in contact with you until you graduate. Cog is still in contact with me, and we still talk today. And so yeah, and so this donor volunteer, this kid named Jet, he had the same birthday as me, and that was when it first clicked, this little relationship. And the one thing that this kid had, he had what was called depth perception. If you were to like, I'm going to put it in the description, if you would have a folder and the flaps, and if you were trying to put a piece of paper in the flap, it was impossible for this kid, because he wouldn't be able to see like far ahead or see the inside of something. And so there was this one part, we were trying to go on this animal hike to go see some animals. This was, yeah, and and so he wanted to, and he was like, I don't know, I'm trying to boost this kid up, I'm trying to inspire him, I'm trying to motivate him, because it was a huge hike, and it was a huge hill and a cliff. And so I was just trying to boost him up and trying to get him to, try to enjoy the activity. And we got to like halfway up this hill and a cliff, and I had to hold his hands almost the whole time. And at one point, he was trying to come down this one cliff, and I was holding down his hands. I was holding his hands while I'm trying to hold myself, because it was raining yesterday. It was raining the other day, and so the ground was a little bit wet. And so I'm trying to have no hands to help me, and so I only had my feet to hold me down on the ground. And so as I'm trying to pull this kid, downwards, down to my level. I was like on the verge of going down this hill, going down this cliff, and having a horrible day. But then he finally made it down, and then he made it more than halfway on the thing, and he's like, all right, let's go back. He didn't want to do it again. But this kid was like the first time I was adult volunteer in a Sneed, because my first ever week of outdoor school, there was an adult volunteer named Apollo, and he basically also inspired me. He would always help put my kids to sleep. And so when you were at outdoor school, I keep going back to this, but when you're a high schooler, there's this thing called social night after 9 p.m. after you, because towards the end of this day of teaching kids science and having dinner and all these, and you would basically have meals with these kids and table around. You would sit with all these kids during meals and whatever, and at night you would put these kids to bed, and as soon as you put them into bed, we were all able to go into the dining hall and just hang out with other student leaders. And I would always go there because dealing with kids like basically all day is really tiring, but it's really fun. And so I would always put this kid to bed. It was so much harder being the adult volunteer trying to get these kids to bed. I actually, my friend Cog, since we were in the same we were in the same level kind of with like the leadership, he asked me, because there was this one cabin that didn't want to go to bed, and so I went, like, it was like a 5-minute walk to this one to this one cabin, and I put them kids to bed, and they weren't able to talk ever again. I didn't yell at the kids. I'm just like, I guilt tripped them. I'm like, hey, your student leaders, we have to go to a meeting, and they can't go to the meeting, this important meeting, if you aren't in bed. And by the time you get, they have to come back and come and sleep. If they are up by the time you come back, you are going to be in trouble. And yeah, whatever. And I was putting them to bed. And actually, it was the second week of my there was this one kid. They weren't even in my cabin. I guess I had them. I was teaching them on water field study at one point. And I guess they wanted to remember me by, like, they liked me so much and they wanted to remember me. And so I had like 4 other wood cookies, and so I gave this kid a wood cookie to remember me by. And I wonder if he still has that. And so I'm feeling old today. I am now 20 years old. And so after this Job Corps experience, it felt like hell, but it was good hell because it helped me. I am now in Ohio, Yellow Springs, Ohio, in college, Antioch College, Ohio, majoring in creative writing. Everything leading up today has finally gotten to me where I wanted to be. I've always wanted to be a writer, and now I'm able to. I've been taking writing classes, and my writing professors have been giving me A++++s, and they love every single thing that I write. I write so thoughtful, so descriptive, so powerful that, like, it changes people. And so, before I get into that, Hurricane was my outdoor school name, but it was also some part of my online name. So before I even went to Natasha's house, there was a streamer named Derek Zalez, and he's a Mexican. I was addicted to Supermarket Simulator, and I would always watch him every day. Every single day I would watch him, and I became his moderator, I became his friend, I became so much more, and we hung out every day. Not every day, but we played games all the time. I was his head moderator. Like, this was before he had 50 followers. He now has 5,000 followers on Twitch. I'm so proud of Derek Gonzalez. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him. And so, Hurricane was also my online name. Everyone was calling me Hurricane. I made a name for myself. So, before, when I was 13, I was using my dad's account to play video games, playing Fortnite, playing Apex. And then when I turned 13, my dad had made me my own Xbox account, and I felt like a man. I felt like a man having my own thing. And so he made me my name, Lazy Fluff 13. Now I'm pretty sure it was just it was randomly generated, but it felt like it was because my dad made it for me that it felt like it was my name. Lazy Fluff fits me so well because I'm lazy and I'm fluffy. But being Hurricane is the leader, is the guy that loves talking to people, and he has a blast in a time of his life. And Hurricane is actually in my book. So my book has the outdoor school experience where my younger self meets my future self. And it's just like my future self teaches my younger self. As I wish I would have, and if I could go back in time, I would love to go tell myself everything that's going to happen, and I want you to do something different. I think that's what, like, more than, like, what 99% of people wish they could do. But Hurricane is someone that I can never, ever forget. Hurricane will always have a root in my history. He was, he would always love talking to people, and he would be the life of the party, and that's just and I feel like that's not me. I feel like that was just a part of me that I wish I was fully, that I never really got to be. And so when I met Derek, my name was Hurricane, and it was so memorable that I became a part of his community. Everybody knew me. And 2 years ago, 2024, when I first met him, I said June 2026 that we were going to meet in real life. When I got to this college January 7th, because I graduated Job Corps January 2nd, 2026, and so they sent me to college, and I've been living my life here. I got into this dorm with this guy named Nick. I don't think he ever really liked me, but he moved out, and I've had a dorm all to myself. And I came into a new environment where I had to share a bathroom. It's a communal bathroom. I have to share a bathroom with multiple people sometimes. I've been more fortunate enough to where there's nobody ever really walks in there when I'm in there, and so it wasn't the first time I was away from my dad to being like across the United States, being from my dad, but being alone has really been hard for me because I've never left Oregon for more than a week. I've been here for 4 months in Ohio, and I haven't explored the city at all. I haven't really gone outside of this dorm or this campus. I've been talking to people a little bit, but not as much as I wished. As I wish I would talk to more people. But I feel like people would judge me if, I'm so scared of judgment and so scared of rejection that, it blocks me from talking to people. But no, on March 25th, or no, March 21st, so this college there's only 3 quarters. There's 3 terms. There's winter term, spring term, and fall term. where it's 11 weeks. You just go to classes, and on this college, there's a thing called the College Works program, and it's a campus job, and you're required to work 5 hours a week to work for a grant to pay for this college. And I have financial aid, and I'm so glad I do, because if I didn't, I would have to pay so much more. And so yeah, I've been working at this it's called communications, and I've been working on campus newsletters. I'm making sure everybody knows what's going on, the events, the regular things going on. And I was actually just offered my boss, Francesca, has offered me to write in the local newspaper, local Yellow Springs newspaper, to have my own column of writing. And so this was like, oh my god. And I also have my own office. And so I'm finally able, because all I've ever wanted was to share my writing with people, because I want to inspire people. I want to make sure, I want the voiceless to have a voice, and I want the people who are feeling invisible to know that they are not alone, because I want to, like, there's probably like 1,000,000 people that have gone through the exact same thing I went through, and I actually want to become an English teacher. I'm getting my bachelor's in creative writing, and I want to get my teaching degree, because I want to teach. It's ironic that I never went to school, but I want to go back to school to teach these kids, because there's so many kids out there that are gonna go through the exact same thing I went through, and I don't want them to, because I don't want this new generation to be as fucked as I was. I want to inspire people. I had this friend when I was 10, and I call him my friend, but it was really me. I've been making up these stories of my life and how I wish they would have gone. I've been telling this lie that I had a friend named Austin who died in a car crash. And he died, but realistically, I was talking about myself. I feel like a part of me died when I was 10, and there was a part of me that died back then that I wish never had. And so it's like, I don't want people to go through what I went through. And so this is why I'm so dead set on becoming a teacher and making sure people, because this is what life is, and why history is going to repeat itself. Because my dad, he raised me, and he wanted me to do better than him, but I basically did the exact same things he did, but I'm trying to do it different. Like, he never finished college. He never even went to college. He finished high school, but he didn't go to college. And this is when he was meeting my stepmom, and he regrets his life almost every single day. I get like texts from him, and the way he talks is like he hates his fucking life, because, you know, and people always say college is like a thing you don't need to do. It kind of is. If you have like high school diploma, that's good enough, but it's like, you won't have as good of a job as you will if you don't go to college. When I was in Job Corps for the 2 weeks, when I went away for those 2 weeks, I was working a security job. I was working for those 2 weeks. I was working a security job, and it was like the worst. It was 15 hours every day, walking around a building the whole time. And it was like, I don't want that for my life. And so I'm going to college to better my life. And here's the thing is I am the only one in my family to have ever gone to college. Nobody in my family has gone to college. And I don't really have a good relationship with my mom's side of the family or my dad's side of the family. The only people I talk to are my grandma Vodka, my dad's mom, my dad, and my uncle Marty. My uncle Marty, yeah. And you know, everything happens in life for a reason, and I'm still trying to find that reason. But I told myself this quote and I live by it every single day. If you don't go past your limit, are you really learning at all? And so, I'm trying to tell people, like, I'm not trying to tell people what to do. I'm just trying to prepare them for what this world is come to. And these last 6 years, 2020, everybody keeps saying it, and I'm gonna keep saying it, but it literally has felt like a flash in a blink of an eye. The time that I lost from COVID until now, it felt like a fucking dream. It felt like a dream. I and I wish I'm still dreaming. But right now, I am questioning my life because there's this beautiful girl who, she actually added me on Snapchat, and she's only a couple hours away from where I am now, and we were always planning, and she's, she came after me. It took me 28 days to finally figure out what she wanted. She wanted to be with me. She was flirting with me, and I have never been in a relationship before, and so, I'm just scared of being with people, I guess, and, I'm still, and Job Corps got rid of my social anxiety. Job Corps had gotten rid of my social anxiety. I don't have that anymore. I'm able to sit in a room without shaking and feeling nervous. I'm actually able to talk to people now that I wasn't too as able to before. And so realistically, this is a story of how I was a quiet nobody. Nobody wanted to talk to me, but now everybody wants to talk to me, and yeah, it's so amazing. And this girl is just amazing, and we've been together for 3 days, but she's beautiful, she's pretty, she says she's not smart, but she was in the military, and apparently she got offered NASA, and yeah, she's literally 3 hours away, a couple hours away, and I still don't know why she wants to come after me, why she wants me. It's a miracle, but that's basically everything that's leading up today. That was my entire life in the span of 2 hours. And there's just just remember this one thing is never look back too long to your past. Your past will always have roots into your future. It's not bad to look back, but it's if you look back too long, you're going to want to keep going back. You're never going to want to move forward. You're going to be stuck like cement. Yeah, and remember that rejection and all that judgment means nothing to anyone. It won't mean anything to anyone. And here's some last minute advice I can give you from someone of me, just, rejection isn't failure, it's proof you had the courage to try. It's not the opposite of success, it's the price you had to pay to be the best version of yourself. You don't get chosen without first getting overlooked, and every no gets you closer and closer to a yes. Don't be scared of rejection, because there's no point. Stop being afraid of something that's not happened yet. If rejection scares you, staying stuck should terrify you even more. You've never gotten better when things were easy. Comfort never changed anyone. The courage to show up, that's where transformation starts. And when you finally start showing up in your own life, that's when things, take a turn. And everyone that has been in my life, I thank you. Literally every single person that has, even if they've hurt me, even though they made me happy, you have shaped me into a way that most people won't get to, I hope they don't ever go through the pain that I went through. But the pain has shaped me into something. Even though I went through such a tough childhood, I want to just make sure nobody else goes through it. It's like I have main character syndrome, but it's because it's kind of true. But this has been 2 hours. If anyone ever, if you even made it this far, then if you made it if you made it 2 minutes in, thank you. If there's anybody here that listened this far into this video, I appreciate you and I love you all. Now, I hope you enjoyed this Apex gameplay, because I'm not that good, but I'm pretty good. Have a great and wonderful day.